Okay, I will talk more about our experience at the Kitchener-Waterloo Multicultural Center. As I said before, we serve clients who are coming under permanent residency in different categories. We'll say refugee protected person that are coming through the government-sponsored refugee. We have those ones who are coming under private sponsor, that is different ways to sponsor, through a community group, through a church, or through a group of 5. There are also refugees as well. We have what is called the family sponsorship, where somebody will sponsor the partner or the children who are abroad. I mean, there is a different variety of ways that you can sponsor. And we have people who come here as skilled workers, but they already have permanent residency. We can support them better because through the federal government, we get that funding in order to support them in the case of the Multicultural Center, but also YMCA. We have a partnership with the libraries in order to support people who are under permanent residency. But today, I think we are here to talk about those ones who are in different categories, that is more the vulnerable population who are under a temporary status, that we can include temporary workers, I will say visitors as well, and we have refugee claimants that for us has been, I think in the last year, a big challenge. But also I can mention that we have the increase of temporary workers who come to our office to get some, I will say not advice because we don't advise, but to get some information of how they can stay here. And we see a variety of temporary workers. We see high-skilled workers, and we see that they call low-skilled workers. In my personal opinion, I believe those ones who are high-skilled workers, they have better support and better chances to stay, because most of them, they will be working in a field that is required in Canada, and they will stay. Most of them will be able to apply after 1 year of being working in their field, and then they will apply under what is called express entry, which most of them, I will say, will be successful in applying. But we also have seen a number of international students that, even though that we know that universities support them, sometimes they have to us because we have a worker who speaks the language, but even though that they speak English, but they feel more comfortable in talking in the maternal language. And they have probably to us some questions that will be more cultural related to, and they can identify with the worker. Okay? And we have a challenge here because for those, even though that we provide services to temporary status, our funding is very, very limited in that regards. And now with the new government, it's very unfortunate that we lost a very important part of the funding that was allocated to work what we call the vulnerable population, that will be LGBT community, refugee claimants, and those ones who are illegal as well. Because we need to admit as well, we have people who are illegal in this region, and how we can support them because they need to survive, and they need to build those resilience, and we as a settlement organization, we feel that is our responsibility to support them in the way that they will need. But it's difficult with the small funding that we have, and for those reasons, we need to be very creative, I will say it, and be a strategy in order to see how we can continue supporting them. And this is why when somebody comes as an international student, we refer them to the university. But even though, I mean, we listen to them and we see what can support them, and we refer them to different services. I mean, we don't allow anybody leaving our doors without being seen and heard. Because for us, it's very important that everybody feels welcome wherever is the status here. The other trend that we have seen is people who come in as visitors, and then they are engaged with somebody here, and I mean, they want to stay because of there is that relationship as a partner relationship, but it's a period that the person as well will stay with, we'll say, precarious status, because they can be as a visitor, but as a visitor, you don't have any right, you don't have access to healthcare, and the person gets pregnant, the things get complicated. Okay? But this is what we need to know, different resources in order to support those clients. I mean, we know that we have, for example, the midwife services that are free for people who are in vulnerable situation as well. But I will say that refugee claimant has been an important issue that we have been dealing with the new, with the state's situation there. We didn't, I think, get all the number of people that we thought that would be when trapped to power, but we still see a number of refugees. We were not specialized in refugee claimants, but since we were aware that Trump was taking power, we were preparing and we hired a person who has a lot of expertise in refugee claimants, okay? Because it's very specialized process to support a person who is refugee claimant, the person who is doing the claiming in land, the person who's done the claim in the border. I mean, there are different issues that we need to deal with, but refugee claimants' challenge is that for a period of time, they will not have access to Ontario Works, that is the financial support that they can get. But also the shelter has been very difficult. I mean, housing is a crisis in this region, and shelters have not been able to, I mean, to comply with all the needs. That the demand is big with the spaces that they have. That has been, for us, a big challenge, and I think with Immigration Partnership and with other organizations, we are trying to see how this issue that I said is not only for newcomers, the housing crisis is for everybody in this region, how housing can become affordable for everybody as well. Right? Ontario Goals as well has been, we'll say, flexible in order to change a little bit rules in order to accommodate the needs of refugee claimants. We need to do a lot of lobbying and advocacy in order to change some of the regulations and policies as well. I will say the ones that at the end, I think in regards workers who are under the lowest skill is it's very difficult for us to find a way that they can stay, because most of them, they will not have the language skills, they will not have the field that is required in Canada, and most of them, they need to go back to the country. And we have seen companies that are bringing temporary workers with, they have been told, the workers, that when they arrive in Canada and start working with them, they will be able to apply. They will sponsor them, or they will nominate them in order to stay here, but at the end, that promise is breaking. And then they are here with the families, and I mean, the families are here, the families are settled, and I mean, they don't want to go back to the country. Some of them, I say, it's the ones that will become illegals at some point. And I think the other question is what is needed to foster resilience in this region. In my opinion, I think is to work in collaboration with all organizations that support. I will say that when somebody comes here, everybody is involved in the settlement. I mean, it's the region, it's childcare, it's our schools, university, college. I mean, it's everybody, in my opinion, should be surrounded by through the newcomer who comes in this region. But I think, as you say, sometimes we don't are aware of the services that are in the region and how we can be more aware of the services in order to support the newcomers who are here. I think that is still lacking of information, and I think how we can support each other in order to support others, then will help in order to build resilience into the newcomers. Working with faith organization, I believe that is very important as well, but also with the companies who are bringing newcomers into the region, wherever it is high-skilled workers or low-skilled workers. I think this is something that is still lacking, and I want to see more that collaboration with employers that are bringing newcomers here, and we support them as well to understand what a newcomer is facing, but at the same time, a newcomer here. That's my dream. And our role as a multicultural center is to provide information and resources, accurate information and resources to those ones who come to our doors, because sometimes what has happened as well that they hear from friends, they hear from family members, but the information is not the right and the current information, and for that reason, they can make important mistakes that will have no positive outcomes in the future. For example, somebody comes as a visitor, they believe that because the visitor visa says that is valid for 5 years, they can stay in Canada 5 years without renewing a visa, which is not true. I mean, a person can stay only 6 months and then they need to renew it. But they have some consequences if they know about this situation. This is what is important for us to provide information and referral to services according to what is available in the region. Sometimes we feel that our hands are tied as well, because depends on the status of the person, we can refer to services or not. As I say, temporary workers, for example, they don't have a lot of support when they need to write a resume or to look for other options to stay here. If they are working for a specific company and they have problems with that company and they need to change to another one, there is not really the support on that one to support them here. That part is lacking, even though that I feel that as a federal government is part of the policy to bring temporary workers, we should provide the support here. Because I feel that there is that responsibility when you invite somebody to come to your home, to your house, to provide with everything that they need. Okay? Yeah, I think what we have done as well in order to support, because I think in order to build resilience, I think information is important. And one way to do this one is that we have organized different group sessions, information on different things, finances, health, parenting. We were talking before the session about how important it is as well to have those sessions in order to understand what parenting means to be in a new society, to avoid further problems with children in the future. Language has been mentioned as well as one of the challenges for newcomers. We have a program that is one-on-one tutoring program as well to support newcomers. It's limited as well to those ones who are permanent residents, but we have some space in order to give to those ones who are not in that category. We have also a program that's called Connectors for Success that is support newcomers who have, we'll say, they are engineers, but they don't have any network here, because one of the issues that as a newcomers, we don't have the networking because everything was left home. No? And one way to build this one is to connect with somebody who is in the same field that will connect you with the others in order to see how you will find job in your field. Okay? This is just an examples of things that we have been able to offer at the office in order to support clients and that they will be successfully living in this region.